bring magic into your life every Sunday night. Play the magic word game at Rainbow Soul. Visit rainbowsoul.show. Subscribe to Rainbow Soul newsletter and watch out for it in your email. Why? Well, inside that newsletter will be a magic word. Some words maybe you never even heard of, and we will explore the definition and history in the show. If you recognize the word, be sure to share your wisdom with Rainbow Soul in your comment. Each newsletter will have a new magic word. If you know the word when we ask for it, you can simply put it in the comments. First commenter gets a free Rainbow Soul sticker. They are round stickers with Rainbow Soul logo, and they say, Rainbow Soul, transgender is sacred. Hashtag Rainbow Soul Vodcast. As well as a queer version and non-binary version printed on high-quality, large circle stickers. The platforms will keep the time of your post, and this will determine who wins. If 2 or more people all say it within the same minute, according to the platforms, everyone gets a sticker. You can win up to 3 different times, 3 different stickers: non-binary, transgender, queer. Rainbow Soul will contact you through a message depending on the platform you commented during the live to get your address/mailing information for your sticker. We do not share any of this information, including your email. You will receive Rainbow Soul newsletter, but you can always unsubscribe if you choose.
Welcome to Rainbow Soul, a live show and podcast in search of deep answers and medicine about consciousness, spirituality, witchcraft, natural magic, and queer, inclusive spiritual paths of many varieties. We will explore the use of herbs, candles, colors, and nature in our personal lives, as well as queer-inspired rituals designed with transgender and non-binary people in mind. We are welcoming all pagans, indigenous two-spirits, witchy folks, conscious seekers, and people off the beaten path who want to explore the human spiritual experience that we are all capable of having. With a deep reverence in anti-racist values, inclusivity, and a healthy and honest respect for our ancestors, Rainbow Soul brings diverse guests and topics all related to queer spiritual experience. Tap into this amazing resource live and find a supportive, safe environment while exploring interesting topics and diverse guests. Listen on your favorite podcast platform and catch the show at your convenience and still participate in the contest and games. Get more information about games and contests at our website, rainbowsoul.show. rainbowsoul.show. Thank you for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.
Hey.
Hey!
Welcome everybody. I hope you're tuning in. I hope you got your astrology chart. Get it now if you don't.
Crap, I left mine upstairs.
Oh, that's okay. I have yours, lacrosse.
Oh, okay.
And so, I just you can get them for free at astro.com. Just going to give you that little tip. So I'm Hollis Taylor, and I'm one of the hosts of the show. And I am a psychic, astrologer, and a general around magic person. And I identify as non-binary. You can check me out at divineandrogen.com. I am author of a book too called Divine Androgen, a sacred path for gender variant people. And these are my co-hosts. Did I do it right? It's more like this. These are my co-hosts.
Howdy.
Bright Hawk and lacrosse.
Yeah, there we go.
So, hey, tell us who you are.
Well, I am Lacrosse Ortiz. I am Jewish, Taino, atheist, jack of all trades, master of none, and always in search of wisdom, professional student. And yeah, I think that's it.
And I'm Bright Hawk, the author of The Dancing Hippo, a wonderful gender-neutral storybook meant to be inspiring about, sometimes life stings, sometimes life's sweet. Question is, what are you willing to be To which the hippo answers, I am willing to be delightfully surprised. So it's delightful to be back on Rainbow Soul. And my spiritual background. I'm a pagan, recovering Catholic, a Buddhist, a musical sound healer. My church is the drum for sure. My I guess you could say my church is the fire circle where I play the drum. That's my form of prayer for sure.
I'm going to have to remember that. Recovering Catholic. I'm going to be like, I'm a recovering Pentecostal. I have to remember that. That's great.
I think that's actually really appropriate.
It's very accurate. It sums it up beautifully.
Yeah.
I barely did the Catholic thing. I was such a bad Catholic. And at the time I was...
had to go to Catholic school.
I went to Catholic school, and then at the
which
same
I didn't
time,
have to. My siblings did.
So at the same time I was expected to go to church on Sunday, I would instead go do satanic rituals down on the rocks. I'm pretty sure I was not a good Catholic. Just gonna
I can
say,
imagine.
I was a little bit of a hellion teenager. I wore a leather jacket. I was goth.
See, we were burnouts. We were called burnouts. I was the flannel shirts. Oh. My parents were Pentecostal, but I was listening to Kiss and just be like, okay. I was an angry teen.
Oh my God, you guys make me feel like I'm so square. I was in the marching band and
but you weren't perfect. You were smoking pot.
Oh yeah, we were ditching church, smoking a joint at the park and sending me, the youngest, in at the end of Mass to collect the bulletin, so we had proof that we had been there.
Not as good as everyone.
It's a good thing, nobody watches this show. I admit all this outside of the family circle.
I'd be like, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble.
I don't care.
No, in high school, I was too busy getting high and going and taking pictures of a horse for like an hour.
Of course.
Yeah, it was dumb. My friend was taking a picture and I was high. And so what I did was I wanted to get the horse to smile. But when you're high, you think that. So I'm over here, nice horsey. And the horse, she got pictures of the horse like this and this,
Oh no.
It was bad.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I was definitely a ruffian. Yeah, I was just rough. But these days, I'm so much softer. Although I hope it stays that way when I have a Mars return this fall. I'm just going to warn y'all. My Mars is very, 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 very slowly going to transit my Mars for most of the fall. From pretty much early September all through the winter till I think it's January or something like that. It's even going to go retrograde over my Mars. So it makes me a little anxious just because I know it's coming. I don't know that there's anything I can do about it. So I want to say that to you guys, about astrology, is that if you know a hard transit is coming up, because, some people might be approaching their Saturn returns and stuff. If you know something like that is about to happen, I think the best thing you can do is to make sure that you have good habits in place, that you're trying to take care. Maybe you have good self-care habits or something like that. Start working on that kind of stuff, I think is the best way.
As someone who knows I'm approaching my second Saturn return, and the thing you always hear about Saturn is it's cold. It's the father figure. It is the taskmaster. It is the do your work. So if you know you're doing your work, or you are not really doing your work, you'd rather not. I'm feeling lazy right now. Those are choices.
Yeah.
And when Saturn comes to visit, I don't know about you, but I know I am trying to make sure my ducks are in a row and I'm doing what I need to be doing, because I know that when you do those things, a reward can happen. But if you don't, you better be looking around and careful where that 2x4 might be coming from, because damn.
Yeah, I
It
think
hurts.
that's what I'm concerned. That's why I'm trying to learn now as much as I can. Like I told you, Hollis, I got that workbook, and I literally want to be able to break it down and understand myself before it hits.
Right.
Because when you're in your 50s, this is coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
And I'm nervous and worried, and I say I don't need to be hitting the head with a brick. I don't want to get hit in the head with a brick. I'm not feeling that.
Yeah,
So
me neither. So with all that Mars energy, I'm just gonna say, and so here's the interesting thing about certain planets in your chart, and what we're going to talk about today is, well, Bright Hawk and I are always sort of talking about the sun sign. Yes, is important, but what seems to be really important about understanding yourself is the rising sign, and how it plays a role in your life at all the time. And so my rising sign is Scorpio, okay? And the traditional ruling planet, so each zodiac is ruled by a certain planet. And so Scorpio is ruled by traditionally Mars, and the secondary, what do you want to call it? The modern ruler is Pluto. Okay, but Mars is in my 8th house, and it's in Gemini, and so that means that I'm always going to have that kind of energy involved in my Scorpio rising. So Scorpio is like the scorpion, right? And if you know anything about scorpions, okay, if you leave a scorpion alone, they'll probably leave you alone. But if you corner it and you try to hit it, it's going to sting you. And it will probably do it so fast that you didn't even see what was coming. And I do that. If a person is coming at me and I'm in an argument, I may say nothing, and try to restrain from the conflict because I have a Libra moon. But if you corner me, I'm going to strike, and it's not going to be good. Right. And it's not usually for me, because my Mars is aspecting my Mercury. It's not usually a hit. I won't hit you. But I will say the most awful thing that will completely rip your heart out. Okay? Like, I have a tendency to do that. It's a Scorpio rising trait.
Now, is the rising sign, excuse me, the rising sign and the ascendant one and the same?
Correct.
Okay, so all right.
And I just want to back up. I want to unpack a couple things for folks in case this is new to you. Right now, Mars, the god of war, and the ruling planet of Mars is the ruling planet of Aries. So right now, and for the last month and a half or so, Mars has been there. And now, at the end of this week, I believe it's on Thursday, Mars moves into Gemini. Okay? So when it moves into Gemini's what? The twins, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes, have you ever had an experience with someone where everything's going great, and then all of a sudden, you're like, whoa. So Gemini, the beautiful part about Gemini is it can see both sides. It can argue both sides. It's air. It's mental. It's thoughtful.
Usually likes to gather information.
And then the shadow side of Gemini can be gossipy, backstabbing. I suddenly changed my mind. That's not the way I want to go anymore. And you have it's quite literally the rug ripped out from under you. I worked for a Gemini who, everything was great until it wasn't. And then it was like, whoa, whiplash, So Mars moving into Gemini, the other thing why I want to bring this up and why it's a big deal is that normally Mars is in a sign about 7 weeks a year. It's about a little under a month, a little under 2 months, about a month and a half, right? that it moves at a pretty good clip. When Mars moves into Gemini, it's going to be there for 7 months.
Oh, wow.
Whoa. It's there for a really long time because it's going to do its retrograde thing. And so if you have Gemini placements or strong aspects to Mars and Gemini, you're going to feel it. And Hollis has, I think, the Sun squaring Mars, and you want to pay attention to those things. Now, squares, when we talk about transit, squares are challenges. Nadia Shaw likes to say squares are awesome because it's when you get things done. Things cannot stay the same. Things have to happen one way or another. A choice has got to be made and action's got to be taken. Something's going to change and the pressure is going to be uncomfortable, but the result can be like a breakthrough. So it can be really good. But again, it's that work reward thing. Stagnant energy in a square is not going to, it's not good. It's going to feel super uncomfortable. The best mantra you can have during squares is show me the next right thing and do the next right thing. You know, that's a good one anytime. BTW. But I just want to put a little bit of context around what's happening with Mars and why is it such a big deal? Because it's moving into Gemini for a really long time.
Yeah, it's just starting to come into it now. So yeah, so if you, whatever your rising sign is, so Lacrosse, you know your rising sign, right?
Yeah, it's a Virgo.
Oh, me too. So
yep,
apparently there's a lot of Virgo risings out there.
Well, especially, it seems like I know a lot of Virgo risings. Both of my grandchildren are Virgo rising.
Wow.
My wife's a Virgo rising. My friend's a Virgo rising. Yeah.
It's amazing. And we just watched the thing where there were like 3 of them, chart after chart after chart. I was like, this is like more common than something else. I don't know.
I used to have a negative thing about Virgo, because I mean I'm born right on the cusp because I'm on the 23rd, so I'm on that cusp. But and whenever I would see it would say that I was a Virgo. I'm not a Virgo, I'm a Libra, and I'd be like, you know, and probably because of the when it comes to the emotional states, because I think Virgos are pretty emotional, and at least the ones that I know. And that was, for me, that's such a big, you know, shutdown. I'm like, no, don't. Probably why I conflict sometimes with water signs, because I know that they're very emotional, and that's a part of my scales are not, they're very tipped when it comes to emotion. So I'm either pissed off or I'm like, shut down, you know. But I realized that it's just recently in my older years that I've been embracing more of the Virgo and seeing, okay, this is where I'm nitpicky. This is where I want things just so, and perfection and things like that. And I always thought that was a Libra thing. And I'm like, no, not a Libra thing at all. That is all Virgos.
So the thing about your ascendant, especially as you're past your Saturn return and you're into your work, life, career, whatever, for me, I think this is true of a lot of people, you really end up leaning into your rising sign.
Yeah.
That it really becomes more dominant in your personality traits than your sun sign to a large extent. And I know that was really true for me because I was an engineer in corporate and, you know, process design and all the rest of it for 16 years. I leaned heavily on my Virgo. Matter of fact, sometimes when I was walking into that place, I was like, okay, dial down your brightness, sad sun, Leo moon. Don't torch the place. You're too bright. You know, people are going to have to put sunglasses on. So I'd have to literally like really ground myself into that Earth Virgo energy. And, you know, Virgos are known for analytical and careful and thoughtful. And they're also nurturers. You know, I didn't realize that was a part of, you know, always wanting to make sure everybody's taken care of. You know, that's a lovely thing in a group.
It I noticed that's where my parenting came in, was
Mhm.
definitely the Virgo and the servitude, that I was the type of
Mhm.
person, you come to my house, I got a meal cooked and a drink in hand. You know, I think the downfall of that is then at some point it is expected. And when you don't comply with that, that's a problem, because then people are like, oh, wait, where's my food and my drink in hand? Then you're like,
Oh yeah.
And that's where my Libra comes in, and I'm like, that's injustice. You
Oh no.
know,
You know
I get on my soapbox.
what's interesting, Lacrosse? You seen it as a negative connotation to be Virgo rising for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And I know someone else that was born around the same time as you that was on the cusp of Libra Virgo. And I would always be like, you're on the cusp, man. So you're a little bit of Virgo. Why are you judging me like a Virgo? And I'm like, these ideas that you have about Virgo are not accurate.
Right.
And I'm just interested that both of you were born on the cusp and have that feeling about Virgo. And because it's a funny thing, because Virgo is actually quite practical and usually down to earth. And although
I
they might be sensitive,
I
they're
can't
not emotional like
I
crazy.
can't speak for the other person, but I can speak it as ego. It's ego,
Okay.
because Libra has a big ego. We have a big ego. It's all about beauty. It's all about this. It's all about balance. It's all, I got to look good. I got to be good. I got to smell good. We have eye syndrome, and that is our whole purpose of balance, trying to remove our ego.
Wow.
At least for me. I can't speak
Well,
for other
that's
Libras. I can only
beautiful.
speak for me,
The
but
hilarious part is he has a problem with ego. Like
right.
that's his problem.
And
That's
if you
why we
don't
don't talk.
realize, and most
Yes.
Libras, we don't always see it. We'll see it in other people, but it's hard to sit there and see it within yourself. And I know with me, that was a big problem, because I'd be the first person. I'm not conceited. I'm convinced. I was like, Mr. Thing, look good, carrying myself a certain way. But then I started realizing you're cocky and that's ugly. That's So when you start seeing that's ugly, oh, we switch up that Libra, because Libras can't be ugly. We don't like ugly. So when I start seeing that's an ugly trait, no, we got to work on that, because not cool. So I can only speak for myself, but for me, it is ego. It was ego. I wanted Virgos. I didn't see anything pretty about a Virgo. There was nothing beautiful, being all calculated and analytical and nitpicky. That's not pretty. But when you start realizing it's a tool,
Mhm.
and you can use that tool to your benefit, instead of, once again, move the Libra out and stop being an a-hole, and focus on the good. And but it took me years to really embrace that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's much younger than you, so maybe he'll get there someday. But
Well,
you
and
know,
and then how the ascendant expresses itself. This is a really important piece,
yeah.
because what you want to know, so first thing, how do you get your rising sign? You have to know the time you were born, in addition to the place. Most people know the day they were born. That's usually not too difficult in this world. Not everybody knows the time. But
Right.
and you need to know the time to get the rising sign. And of course, it's what was rising on the horizon the day you were born, right? So when you know what your rising sign is, then you say, okay, who's the ruler of Virgo? For example, ruler of Virgo is Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication. So then you look at what house is Mercury sitting in, and is it in a sign that it likes to be in, right? And this starts to tell you how that Virgo rising is going to express itself literally in your chart.
Mhm.
So for me, my Mercury is conjunct the sun, which is very common because those two are very close together, and I think it's something like 2/3 of the time they're going to be in the same sign, and in that's true for me, but it's not true for you.
Right.
And mine is retrograde, so that's going to tell you something. And mine happens to be in the third house. Actually, it's really close to the third, fourth house line. And And so it's actually in a square to the house that it rules. That, sorry, did I say that wrong? Yes, I did. No, Virgo rising, 90 degrees is a square, and that's where my Mercury is conjunct the sun.
Yep, 90 degrees is a square.
And so that helps you understand if it's going to express itself in a strong or weak way. Now, because mine's with the sun and where it's placed, communication, you look at my chart and you go, you're going to be in communication. You're going to talk. You're a storyteller, a musician, an artist. Yep. And it's all conjunct right there with my south node, which your south node speaks to Dharma. What you came in with, right? And so you look at your rising sign. There's a chart. If you need a chart, there's tons of charts on.
I wanted to show you guys. I wanted to show you guys how to find your ascendant. Okay. Yeah. So I have a screen here. If you do happen to have the video, then you'll be able to see this. Okay. So oops, here we go. And so you should be able to see this. And this is just the USA's astrology chart. And over here, you can see that the USA is a Sag rising right here. See that? Because the AC, it's usually on the left-hand side of the chart, and it usually says AC. And the degrees is important when you start calculating aspects like squares and oppositions and things like that.
So Sagittarius would mean that Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. So then you want to look, where's Jupiter? Oh, you pulled it down.
Oh, but sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And then what sign is Jupiter in? Is it a strong or weak placement? So Jupiter, Sagittarius, on you go. So that's part of how you understand what your ascendant, how it's going to influence you.
Yeah. So
express. I guess that's what I want to say. Express.
I wanted to just explore the signs a little bit. Like Sagittarius is, if you're a Sag rising, you're gonna want to probably travel. You're gonna have your own philosophy about things, and wherever your Jupiter is going to influence also how that all comes out of you. And Sag rising is going to be pretty charming. Even if they have like a sign that's a little less social, they might surprise themselves. Or when they read about their sun sign, right, that's not as social, they'll be like, I'm way more social than that. And that's because you're a Sag rising. So you need to look at your rising signs, because definitely Sagittarius is going to be more charming and outgoing, and they're going to be a fun type of person to be with. Now, Scorpio rising, I mentioned it earlier. Yes, it's going to be, I'm just looking at the chart here so we can go all the way around. But like Scorpio is also going to be not only going to have a stinger, and if you have Mercury in Scorpio or something, you're probably also likely to do that kind of thing if someone pisses you off. But Scorpio rising also is going to be kind of spiritual, very transformative. They probably live you'll probably live 6 different versions of yourself in your whole lifetime. You'll just keep transforming, and people might accuse you of being fake as a result. But really, the truth is that you just keep transforming.
You're water. Scorpio's water. And the thing about Scorpio is it is fixed. So we talk about signs in terms of elements: air, water, earth, fire. And we also talk about elements, the sign in terms of is it fixed, is it mutable, or is it cardinal? And that starts to tell you, your fixed signs, your Taurus, your Scorpios, these are the folks that are going to change last. They need the most convincing. And then once they're on board, they're on board. But
I'm not sure that's totally true about Scorpio.
Taurus is by far, because it's Taurus fixed earth.
Absolutely.
Scorpio, what it has going for it is that water, it's that flow, right? So it's going to keep moving and feel good. Obviously, Pisces is water. And then the other water sign that I always forget is Cancer, right? The crab, right? The fire signs, Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. And then the earth signs, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn, right? And then air is the only one we have left. Libra, we've talked a lot about. Gemini, we've talked a little bit about. And Aquarius. Aquarius is the fixed. So just even knowing that nature of I'm a fire sign, you're a water sign, don't piss me off. You know, I used to have a Pisces friend and I loved her, but at a certain point, she would just ooze all over the place. That's what it felt like. And I just, at a certain point, was like, I got to go.
Yeah. Poor water signs. The poor water signs. They're just getting it today. They're just poor water signs. Yeah, no, exactly. I feel bad. You know, because there is a stigma for the water sign, you know, but sadly there's so much good that can get taken from the water signs, you know. Absolutely. The gifts, community, you know. Yeah, we're all one, you know, our desire for unity. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. You know, every single one has a value, right? Everyone has a positive, everyone has a shadow, or however you want to call it. And that's the beauty of it, you know, because if you, and I remember my first readings of being like, oh, that's who I am. Like, I should stop trying to change that part of me. I should start inquiring about the best parts of me and like building that. Oh, okay. I get it. But like, until then, I'm just trying to rub out a freckle and it's like, you're just making a red spot. Stop. Right. That's so funny because I used to laugh and I would sit there and I would see these people and they were like so nice and so cool and so like mellow. And I thought to myself, God, why can't I be like them? You know, I used to get mad at myself because here I am, I'm that aggressive and I'm like, yo, what up? You know, I'm all up in people's faces and I'm the loud mouth and I'm in the middle of the, you know, you don't want to dance, forget it. I'm out there doing my jiggy, you know, and then I thought, God, why can't you just be the calm tone, Zen type person? And I used to beat myself up for that for years until I realized, and I said, no, it's not about you. I have my calm Zen moments, but that's not who I am. And for me to, if I were to transform myself into that, it would be fake. It wouldn't be real. And it's like, I think that's the cool thing about astrology, because it was in astrology that I realized, oh, okay, now I don't have to be upset that I'm like that. Now I can embrace that and then learn how to utilize it for something good instead of just being in the middle of the street ready. Yo, you want to fight? You know, I could use it for something productive. See, I don't like negative or positive, but I like productive, not productive. Totally.
Well, progress is important.
And that's where the opposition can be such an interesting, it's like the teeter-totter, right? And finding out where that fulcrum point is where, so take Sagittarius, Gemini, right? And Taurus and Scorpio. These are good ones to know because they're opposites and it's where the nodes are sitting right now. So when we talk about the lunar nodes, they're always 180 degrees, right? And so right now the lunar nodes are in Taurus and Scorpio, but they just came out of Sagittarius and Gemini. I'm a Sag and I was born right near the winter solstice. So my nodes are right on that access point. I thought everybody's chart was like this. And then I found out, no, that's not how this works. Because I thought the AC and the IC and the MC, I thought those were the same as the nodes because mine all line up like that. Okay. And then I found out, no. But what that really does mean is you came in with a lot of fate. You came in with a lot of destiny. You came in with a lot of with a contract, really. I'm going to call it a soul contract about there's certain things you got to get done in this life. And in some people's chart, it's really obvious. There are destiny lines that point the direction of what we're supposed to do. And other people, that's not the case. Some people have a ton of choice. We looked at one person's chart. It was cusp, 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 cusp. What does that mean? Choice, 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 choice.
They almost probably had more choices than they could handle.
You know?
Yeah, so that can sometimes be.
Marketers will tell you there is a point in human psychology where more than 3 choices is like, whoa, you're freaking me out. And a lot of times we just want one choice. Just set my course and I'll decide how to do the course. But I know my course. So for me, I didn't understand any of this until this last year of taking class after class after class and starting to understand, oh, so when these things happen, this is why you want to know this stuff. So if you feel like that Libra part of you has gone too far, how do I counterbalance it? What's across from me? What's opposite? Oh, I could harvest a little bit of that energy. So that's like a whole nother evolution of when you of learning that balance piece for yourself and how to, when you feel like, for me, classic, I'm too much fire. I come off like a train, right? How do I do? Oh, ground. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
it seems so obvious.
Speaking of grounding, before we take a break, so another sign that we didn't talk about yet as a rising sign is Capricorn rising. What I want to say is if you're Cap rising, well, you're probably really good at business, managing money, managing your house, and kind of like having a good idea. Maybe you were the type of person that when you graduated high school, you actually knew what you wanted to do and or had some idea and moved in that direction, or by the time you got to your Saturn returns, or by the time you do get there, you'll have your career down pat. And so that's a Capricorn. Talk about grounded. And some people would say that Capricorn can sometimes be cold and calculated. And they are I would say, one of the most grounded of all of the 3 earth signs. But Capricorn also can be very serious and can be very sort of like very practical. Like they may even shy away from strong spiritual choices unless they have other placements that bring that in. They just are very practical, like very practical.
Can even be cautious.
Yeah, and Bright Hawk is a Capricorn cusp, Sag.
Sometimes I call myself a Sagicorn.
Yeah, so then what ends up happening is you just mix those 2 energies. So but the Capricorn rising, it's going to be like who you are, and it may not match your, like, if your sun sign, I'm thinking, so the ruler of Capricorn is
Earth, Cardinal, Saturn, right? That's right.
Of course,
Saturn.
That makes
Cold.
complete sense. So Saturn, and Saturn is also very much about the system. So you might want to look at your Saturn. Where is it in your chart? And I'm gonna bet that your Saturn returns is gonna be kind of intense. And if your Saturn's in retrograde, you may have a hard time fitting your system in with the other system for a while until you figure out how to get those to integrate. But if you have a Saturn rising, if you're a Capricorn rising, you definitely want to look at where your Saturn is. It's a very strong planet to rule your sign and to rule that sign. And a Capricorn rising is definitely like a strong person and everything, but certain times they could really get knocked off, and that's probably when Saturn goes retrograde. They'll probably feel it more than the rest of us. maybe. So
Aquarius
the other rising sign, definitely Aquarius. Out of the box.
loves to make friends.
Hot stir.
Aquarius.
I got one. My daughter.
Oh. Is she an Aquarius sun or Aquarius rising?
Well, she's an Aquarius sun, but
Okay.
she's just something else. Matter of
Mhm.
fact, I don't have to look because like now you have me curious.
Well, Aquarians are known for their authenticity, their blunt honesty. They're also big-hearted. They're often humanitarians, environmentalists. They're concerned about the big picture and the concern of how we live on this planet and take care of each other. They can be very friendly. They can make friends quickly. Very conversational.
Yeah. So we'll continue on with the other half of the zodiac after our break. Did you bring a nugget, Lacrosse?
Yes, I brought a little bit of nugget, and it's funny.
Okay, great.
Because there's something that we've been talking about a lot, which I didn't even realize, and the little nugget kind of is gonna piece.
Don't you
a little
love
bit
it
of
when it
together.
just happens?
It's crazy.
All right. Let's check it
Okay.
out.
We'll be right back. Hey everybody, I'm your host Lacrosse, and this is Little Nuggets, and I'm a little guy. I'd like to talk about energy. Some people call spirits, guides, all that. I'd like to call energy. And also, guides are not only just animals. You know, a lot of people think that spirit guides are animals. And I like to believe that guides or energy guides are basically anything that the Earth Mother, the Earth, can give you. Because we all agree that everything is made of energy. So, with that being said, one of the energy guides I've been having this week is, you can guess, water. I guess I got to kind of go back real quick. I was at work and there was a problem with the sink, and in the middle of or not a sink, a bathtub. And in the middle of the bathtub, there's like the handle, okay, and the shower's to the left side. And so in the middle, you can take the handle out, of course, and there's two little, like screws or things in the back, which they're like for pressure. Okay. Turns out that at my job, they don't have what they call stop valves. They don't have stop valves to stop the water from coming in. So I talked to my boss, and he was telling me, oh yeah, those two little screws in the back are the stop valves, and I'm like, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that's pressure. It controls the pressure. He's like, no, go ahead. And I even called my other boss, and I'm like, dude, I don't think that these are the stop valves, to stop the water from coming. And he's like, nope, those are the water pressure valves. And he says it could hold, it could not. You're not going to know till you basically press them. So needless to say, like, it's going to stop it from coming out the shower head, but it's not going to stop it from coming from that knob. So I made sure they were off, and I'm talking to them, and next thing you know, I make a wrong turn, and this wave of water just bombards me, and all I keep thinking is, oh my God, I want to stop it from getting out into the bathroom and onto the carpet. I couldn't get the knob back in. I'm having anxiety. I'm getting frustrated, and the water will not stop because you have to shut down the entire hotel in order to stop the water. That's scenario number one. Next day, scenario number two. It was thunderstorming really bad, so I dropped my wife off, and she's like, "Oh, do you want an umbrella?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm okay." And it was like downpouring, like how you see the water here. It was like downpouring. It felt like. So I parked the car and I walk home, and it's downpouring. And I thought to myself, one was of choice that I chose to deal with the water, and one was not of choice. But the perspective should have been the same. Because when I was getting downpoured, I was just like, hey, it's water. What are you going to do? I'm getting wet. There's nothing you can do. I can just work on the situation. And the same thing, I should have reacted. And I did eventually get to when the water kept coming out at me in the shower, where I was just like, okay, I'll just stop it and just redirect it to the drain. So what's the little nugget? You can't fight the current. You can't fight the currents of life. They're going to come, and they're going to come in waves. They're going to come in downpours. They're going to come in total, like, full-on blasts. And it's all on how you handle them. Like, are you going to lose your shit and be like, oh, my God, this happened. This is terrible, blah, 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 blah. Are you just going to accept it and embrace it and say, hey, you know what? Okay, this is happening. I'm not very happy about it. I'm not very excited about it. But I am going to make the best of it. So that is today's little nugget. Perspective. You can't fight that current. You can't fight the current of life. So do the best you can to embrace the situations as they come, because they will come in waves, and they will come in trickles, and they will come in full-blown tsunamis. But in the end, it's water, and it's cleansing, and it has its properties, and embrace that even in the hardest waves. Remember what it's doing. It's cleansing you. All right, that's today's little nugget, and I will see you next time.
That was great.
That's fabulous.
Sorry you went through all that turmoil, but good message. Good message. You cannot swim up a waterfall. I've tried.
You can't fight that current of life. You just can't. It's just
surrender. I think it's kind of an art. It's kind of something you have to learn to do, I think.
Yeah.
Which leads perfect to talking about Pisces rising.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of water, the ultimate water sign, Pisces, right?
Yeah, Pisces is definitely, like, when you think of a fish in water, that's very Piscean. It's very it could probably be pretty emotional, and it might depend what other placements are going on for you. Like Coyote was saying that they are coyotes in our community here. They said that they're a Pisces sun and moon, and Leo rising saves me from drowning. Okay,
for sure. Isn't it fun when you start to get how the three work together? Especially, you're like, I've heard that. I've said that so many times. With all that fire, Virgo saves me. That's great. That's great that you know all three.
Yeah, and
the thing about Pisces is they're super artistic. They can be very spiritual. They can really be one that brings people together.
Peacekeepers.
Oh, really good trait. Really good trait. They're amazing that way. Oh my goodness.
My daughter-in-law is just amazing peacekeeper, I would say.
Like Aries can blow shit up faster than you can figure out what just happened, and Pisces mends and brings everybody back, and oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's good to have Pisces in negotiation positions. The other thing about a Pisces rising that I didn't realize, and I thought this is interesting, was Pisces rising, they often feel like they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they like to look back. They like to pine over the past.
I wonder if they would be like big into history as a
Right.
result.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Certain people have a penchant for a different time and a different era. I've never been one of those people, but I've seen those people.
Yeah, I've met them.
You look like you walked out of the fill in the blank 1920s or the 1960s or whatever.
Yeah, people that go to like the Ren Fair
or the recreation people, the people
Yeah.
who love to do reenactments. That's the word.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
definitely.
So
yeah,
I
that's
see.
definitely Pisces rising. And next, the next
oh,
one.
and the only thing we didn't say, obviously, is Pisces. Obviously, it's water, and obviously, it's ruled by Neptune. Right? Neptune is dreamy. Neptune is all about manifesting our dreams, and that's where the shadow part of Pisces can come in, where they can be too dreamy, they can get illusory, they're wonderful in their fantasy, especially if they're artists. They can create beautiful, fantastic fantasy imagery. The challenge is to not go so far that you lose touch with reality.
So
Makes
all of
sense.
them, I think that's what you always have to remember with astrology is try not to like ever say that every Libra or every Virgo does this, because when we do that, it's silly, first of all, and it's really not a good way to do astrology. In fact, it's the opposite of what an astrologer does, because an astrologer has to look at your whole chart to really get a picture of you. And like Coyote mentioned, they have all that water, but they also have the Leo rising. They probably have to be careful to make sure that their water doesn't put out all their fire, or that they may have to control how much steam they have going on. So that's the other way you need to think about it. So Pisces, of course, is a water sign, and now Aries, of course, is a fire sign. And Aries is the beginning of the zodiac. So
we call it cardinal.
Yeah, so it tends to be the first one at things. They're the kid. Remember when you were in grade school and there would always be this kid that just had to be in the front?
First one running out.
I would not be surprised if they had strong Aries placements, particularly Aries rising or Aries sun, and Aries is going to be the one that wants to get physical. They often sometimes are warriors, like they go to war. They're ruled by Mars, so totally makes sense, right? And
they can often be leaders.
Yes,
they're often initiators of this is what we should do. And
if it's in your rising sign, that's how it's gonna. You probably will depend on where your Mars is, so you need to look and see where your Mars is. And let's say it's in your second house, which is about values and money, then it's probably you're going to be the kind of person that really goes for it. That tries to make a certain, like, you might invest money or take financial risks sometimes, even to invest for success and things like that. They're going to want to succeed. So that's the thing about the Aries rising, is that you want to look at where your Mars is, because that's going to influence how it comes out in you.
Aries are decisive people. They know what they like. They know what they don't like. And the shadow side of the Aries rising in particular is the ego. They're very ego-centered. And so, there's a place for that. And then there's a place where that can go too far. So they tend to like to have their way. They're fire. They're cardinal. They're, I know what to do and we're doing this. So,
and they sometimes will abandon things. Like they may not complete projects, or they may notice.
Move on.
You may notice, if you're an Aries rising, that you started doing that maybe in your teenage years, in your early 20s, and that you need to knock that off. Like most people most Aries rising would probably overcome that by the time you got to your Saturn returns, which is about 27 years old.
Yeah. And they can be very contagious, very infectious, enthusiastic leaders. They get people going. And so people go, oh, okay, let's do that. Then before the project's finished, where'd they go?
I would say that's kind of like a fire starter, not a fire keeper.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would say.
Right.
Exactly.
But I'll tell you what. The funny thing is the very next sign is kind of the one that will be there till the very end.
To the end.
Till the absolute end.
The last
with
chairs
Taurus.
are stacked.
And that's Taurus.
Yep.
Taurus is gonna see it all the way through. They tend to be very, very committed to things, but they're also tend to be sensual and kind of a foodie
Because it's ruled by Venus, right?
Yeah.
So when you think of they have a high appreciation for nice things and for things being a certain way, and care, that there's care has gone into this because Venus, right? And we've already mentioned that it's fixed Earth, so it's going to take the most convincing on why change really is necessary. But then when you've got them, when they've made that decision with you, they will be there with you through the end, all the way through. You can count on them.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's my wife. Well, she's not a Taurus rising. She's her Taurus sun. She actually is a Virgo rising, but
Taurus moon.
And with her, it is everything you said. She loves her food. She loves her food. Because she literally will be like, okay, we're eating here this week. Because she's like, where do you want to eat? And me, Libra, I don't know. I'll eat anything. And she, okay, we're going here and we're going to eat this and we're going to eat that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, she loves her food. And she's probably one of the most solid people I know. Like, she does not give up. So
wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Persistent.
Exactly. They're very persistent.
Persistent like a bull.
Yeah.
And they can sometimes feel like a bull. If they really want something and they haven't got it, they can kind of feel like there's a bull pushing on your boundary. It can sometimes feel for Scorpio rising person, because I'm the polar opposite of that, I can sometimes get frustrated because I want the Taurus to change. Because, well, I've already changed a half dozen times. What's taking so long? And so, that's what happens. So, sometimes when you feel the polar opposite, and in the rising sign, because Taurus is ruled by Venus, you need to pay attention where Venus is, because that might have a lot to do with maybe relationships. So like if your Venus is in the 7th house, rules relationships. And so that's gonna indicate that you might be slow moving or more committed in a relationship. You're gonna be the kind of person that tries to make sure that relationship lasts as long as possible. And so these are some things that you can learn about yourself by looking at your chart, So your rising sign, Taurus, you want to find out where Venus is to find out how it comes out in you and how it presents to the world.
Gemini. Gemini's mutable air ruled by Mercury.
Right. It's ruled by Mercury just like Virgo is. But Gemini tends to be a little bit more, it's definitely twin, so it could flip very quickly. If you're a Gemini rising, you may go, why do I suddenly switch like attitudes? And that's Gemini rising.
And so Gemini and Virgo, both ruled by Mercury, have in common is they're both good communicators. They are usually both very good at expressing themselves or making themselves heard in some way or another, because Mercury rules communication.
Yeah, and I would say that Gemini's rising in particular, I've known a few Gemini rising people. I don't know why, but sometimes I attract Gemini people, people with strong Gemini placements, maybe because my Mars is there. And I do tend to go after information as quick as fast, and I tend to eat it up very quickly. And that's Gemini trait.
Yeah.
And I have Mars there, so it makes it super fast and it makes me like fast about it. But look at where your Mercury is, because that's going to tell us how that comes through for you.
Right.
And so, getting lots of information, learning higher knowledge, talking, especially like, if you find yourself on a podcast, running a podcast or something like that. See, my Mars is in Gemini and I'm doing this, right? So it's very much about broadcasting. Gemini is very much about broadcasting and sending your voice out. So it's very much about that. And sometimes it can be a little bit two-faced at times, and there can be some gossiping or things like that. And the next sign is an interesting sign. My son has this. Is a rising sign, Cancer rising.
My dad was a Cancer.
The hilarious thing about Cancer rising. So my son's a Libra actually, but he's a Cancer rising, and what would happen is that he avoids conflict because he's a Libra sun, but he's a Cancer rising. So he would go along for a really long time, and then he would explode, and he'd be like,
very
"Whoa!"
Cancer trait.
And you're like, "Why is that happening?" And the reason that's happening is because he's a Cancer rising, so he doesn't know what he feels really until it happens, until he's exploding, and he's like, "Clearly, I'm mad." Okay, so like. And when I said that to him, he was like, "Oh my God, that's so correct." And he's going through his Saturn returns now. And I just mentioned that because that's his rising sign. And that's the thing about Cancer rising, is that you may have these traits. I find that when you discover your rising sign, all the traits that didn't match your sun sign, all of a sudden make sense. So if you read your sun horoscope and there's things that you don't identify with, you might want to check out your rising sign, because that's probably what's going on.
Oh yeah, my Hulk son, his rising sign is Libra.
Oh, really?
And that's, I think, like Putin or something has that, and you're like,
I'm like, he's Sagittarius, but his rising sign is Libra, and he's explosive.
Wow. But does he have something on his ascendant? So that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. So I'm kind of glad you brought it up, because I have Uranus on my ascendant, which makes me of course I'm Scorpio, so I tend to transform a lot, but having Uranus on your ascendant can also mark you as
his Mars.
binary. Okay.
Mine's
so
Mars too.
I lead with Uranus. In other words, like, I lead with my weirdness. Uranus tends to represent your weirdo. And Mars, what do we say Mars is? This is a god of war, right? And it's like, so of course he leads with that. Like, that, so whatever, if there's a planet or an asteroid or whatever on your ascendant, you probably,
or within 5 degrees on either side.
Yeah, within 5 degrees, either side. It definitely, and it tends to rule you, I notice. So being a person with Uranus on there, it tends to really rule who I am.
Hollis always goes, "My weird is showing."
Yeah, my weird is showing.
For me, my planet that's closest to my ascendant is Mars. I have a stellium in the 12th house, which means I have more than 3 planets. I have 3 planets there. Mars, Pluto, and Uranus. And when you have a big placement in the 12th house, there's a lot of signification there about the 12th house is the occult, spirituality, shadow, mystery. So it's no surprise that I work with seniors who are close to death and dying, and that I've been a hospice musician and all of these things with Pluto in the 12th. That kind of goes, kind of lines up, right? So finding where that closest planet is, how that works. And for me, that's been mind your temper. Mind your temper. You are great in action mode. Make sure you mind, And so for me, the solution, the practice that I've engaged in for now, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, it happened during the pandemic. I started noticing my irritation level rising, and my fuse getting shorter and shorter and shorter, to the point where I was like, this is so not productive and not the way I want to be. So I spent time every morning writing a page of gratitude. And I still do that. And that grounds me into that vibration. And I don't lose my cool every day anymore. And now I know when it's going to happen, and I can feel like, okay, don't you go sit under the tree with your journal immediately?
Right.
And it works.
I need this now.
Save you some time, save you some frustration. Okay, so Cancer, very sensitive. They can be smart, really smart, and loving and affectionate.
They love information. They love to learn.
Yeah.
They like to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandson is a Capricorn and
Cancer.
I'm sorry, Cancer, and he has no.
He is a Capricorn.
Yeah, he's a Capricorn, but Capricorns also love to learn.
Yeah.
So he also does that.
Yeah, voracious learner.
Yeah, and I wanted to, and the next one that we have here is Leo rising.
Right.
Who was it? Oh, somebody was a Leo rising a little bit earlier. Coyote.
Yeah.
Coyote Satyr, I think it is. So
when you think Leo, think noble leader, because Leo is the lion, and it should be noble. And when it's tempered and taken care of and feels, I am in my kingdom, in my domain, the world is a beautiful thing.
And I noticed the icon picture for Coyote. They have a lot of hair. You can see it like flying behind them.
Yeah, the ultimate compliment to any Leo of any stripe is good hair day.
Leo rising tend to have big hair for some reason, and that they like the way that appears. And the thing about
it's their mane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It makes you think about that. Exactly. And they also tend to, Leo rising is going to, might be a little bit appear arrogant at times when they step forward. But usually if they have some other signs to kind of balance that out, like Coyote said that they were a Pisces. So that's going to pull that back a little bit so that when they do step forward, it's not like a fireball, because that can happen for some folks. I was thinking here about Quellen, who is a Gemini with a Scorpio rising. And so Quellen, you may find yourself definitely transforming and having two sides to yourself, of course. But that Scorpio rising, also the other trait that's really important, that's all Scorpio rising should know, is that you can see the root of things. So what you're viewing is not wrong. You'll get gaslit a lot because you'll call it out. You won't be aware that you're seeing the root. You may not be aware that you're seeing the root, but that's what happens. Scorpio risings, you see the root of the problem. And so that is a good thing. And it can sometimes also be a bit of a burden. Because you walk around kind of understanding things at a different level, and not everyone's willing to bend. Like, not everybody's willing to face it yet. Does that make sense?
So the ultimate example is the Pinter play. Do you remember the play Enemy of the People? Enemy of the People, summed up in a sentence, is what Hollis just said. The enemy of the people is the person, the scientist, who tells the people the truth they don't want to hear, and they make him the enemy of the people. Not the
Right.
truth, the guy who delivered the truth.
Right.
So when Scorpios speak their truth and say what seems so flippin' obvious, how come you don't see it?
Mm.
And everybody else is taking God knows how much time it takes, for everyone else to see it. And the Scorpio's sitting there going, am I crazy? Do you not see this?
Especially Scorpio rising.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
in
It's
particular.
very, very insightful. And it, if you did a Myers-Briggs thing, it would be the fast processor. It'd be the person who has to wait for everyone else to get the other steps. Scorpio gets there like this. I see it. I know it. Da 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 da. Boom, ba boom, ba boom, and then there's this. You get what I'm saying, don't you? So it can be a tough. It can be a there's a huge gift there, but it can be a tough gift.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. So and did we say who rules Leo is the sun?
The sun.
So you want to look at where your
yeah.
sun is. So Coyote, if you take a look at your chart and try to find where your sun's in Pisces. I don't know what house it's in, but it's in Pisces. So you may find yourself kind of watering your fire at times. So I would warn you to be careful not to water down your fire as a leader.
Yeah,
they're like that.
Leos are natural showmen, show people. Natural entertainers, and
there you go.
You don't want to sit on yourself too much. It's your gift it's your gift to the world. So that's the that know what your gift is, right?
Yeah.
And whenever we can deliver our gifts, boy, it usually fills our cup tremendously.
Yeah.
All right, so then we're back to Virgo.
Yeah, that's it.
Ta-da! We did it.
We did the whole thing.
So then I would say, if there's something that sounds too generic for you in your sign, you've heard the information and you're like, I'm still not feeling it. Then you might want to do what is known as looking into the decans. So every sign is made of 3 decans. Every sign is 30 degrees in a house, right? 360 degrees, 12 houses, right? Well, when you want to really get more and more and more specific and really drill in, you want to drill in on what's the decan that is represented. So you would want to know, am I in the first 10 degrees, 10 to 20, or 20 to 30, or 29, really, right? And so then you look up that decan for that sign, and you will find even more specific information, and your ruler could change. So, for example, sometimes Sagittarius totally right on, and sometimes I'm like, it's not really, you're not singing my song. And then I looked up my decan, and I realized that while Jupiter is the ruler for all of Sagittarius, the 3rd decan of Sagittarius is ruled by the sun. Then I went to my moon sign. My moon is 0 Leo. So it's the 1st decan. Leo ruled by the sun. Oh, so the sun is playing a very significant role here. You can go as deep as you want to go, as far, as wide. Astrology is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So I just offer that little tidbit because it is a huge piece when people go, the horoscopes, they never speak to me. I just don't get it. And that's probably why, because it almost always speaks to the 1st decan of the sign. And if you're in the 2nd and 3rd, your story could be different.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to say is also look at the horoscope for your rising and your moon sign.
Yeah.
And you will find that it will be more mixed for you.
The picture will start to
personally.
evolve for you. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Eve, since Eve says they're a Taurus rising. So Eve, since you're a Taurus rising, you want to look and see where Venus is in your chart. And then that will help you mix like how that rising sign comes out. But Taurus is often takes takes a while to change and it usually stays very committed. So that sounds like you, Eve.
And good communicator, Mercury and Sag. No surprise there. That's communication right there.
And it
would Eve
explain,
is in pre-law, right? So that's like you'll be perfect. That's perfect career for you, kind of thing.
And it would even explain why Eve and I are friends. Because Eve has a Taurus rising, therefore being attracted to Scorpio. Scorpio rising. And so Eve, you may find yourself around Scorpios. So the opposite sign to you is probably going to be attracted to you.
Right. It's your I want to say secret attractor.
Yeah, just they tend to be attracted to you. And so it could be their rising sign is what I'm showing here.
So all the Virgo risings, the descendant for us is Pisces, right? Well, that's what's across from us. So, Pisces could be the people that attract to you, and then you're like, okay, wait, why do I have all these Pisces in my life? You guys are too watery. I had a moment like that happen for me, but it was very funny. So
yeah. So
all
right,
right. Shuffling.
I'm gonna do the cards. I'm gonna do a tarot reading. It's so much fun talking to astrology with all you guys. I hope you enjoy this. We are gonna be shifting the show here coming up soon. Just to let you know, but we'll talk more about that as soon as I'm done here. The first card is the 10 of Cups, which is a good reminder all about coming together and the ways that you come together in a good way, the celebrations, the beginning of relationships, and even deeper commitments of relationships. That's pretty much what this is about. And it's also, very much like Pride, because you can clearly see that this is a couple in Pride, and being the 10 of Cups, this card in particular tends to bring that kind of energy when we think about it, okay? And so that's what it's about. It's especially about friendships and commitments and love relationships. And right now is the Ace of Swords, which is you are on point in what you're thinking, which I guess is a little bit validating for, Rainbow Soul even. And so this is very much about having things in place and being ready to make those shifts. And this is the Ace of Swords. So this is very much about bringing forward your best thoughts and really your best actions and your best action plan, and that you're making some good choices. That's what this is. And this is right now. And going forward, Spirit's going to ask you to step forward and take your power and to hold on to your power in the way that you best see that. And that's what the Emperor is. It's about taking on your power, holding your power in a good way, and being stable with it. Because this is, if you notice, this Emperor is very balanced, right? And if you look really close, they're totally awesome. They have a rainbow flag on their armor. You see that? So, which I thought was kind of fun. And so the Emperor tends to be very balanced and also very strong. So I would call even the Emperor a really good leader. And so this is sort of calling you to your leadership, calling you to the best way that you can stand up in leadership. And so you might be being called to the table, friends, or something. You have to take the lead in life. You have to make the choices, right? That's what we just said. I just validated that the relationships in your past were really good for you. And those experiences were not just in your head, they were real. And that the thoughts and the things that your actions that you're taking right now are on point. You're doing a great job. And as you go forward, remember to just stay in your power. Don't fall out of that, and instead stay in your power and bring that forward. Okay? And what I want to say is that I also wanted to share that we are going to discontinue the live of Rainbow Soul. It costs us money to go live. This is just, I'm just gonna give you facts, friends. The facts is that it costs us money to go live, and we are not getting any reward. We haven't sold much merchandise, and we haven't gotten enough followers or enough interaction in the, I guess, in the
We
chat or
love the
whatever.
followers we have. Don't
We
get
do.
us wrong. You guys are awesome. There's just not enough of you.
It's just not enough. But we have been doing pretty well on our podcast. So we've decided, because it would free up both of our schedules, and just recently, Let's Dance Activities has been funded by Next 50 Initiative. And so what that means for me is I get to take my healing hands back out to the nursing homes and help the elderly do the dances they need to do to enjoy life and do my life's calling. Okay. I've been called to this. When I was a kid, I used to hang out in nursing homes. I know it's weird, but that's what I did. And so now our nonprofit has been on pause. Of course, you go to nursing home. I bet y'all could guess why we stopped. And so we've been stopped since March of 2020, and just now we have finally received great funding from Next 50 Initiative, and we're very proud of that and excited, and it's going to change my life. So we're not going to be doing it live, so you won't see us here next Sunday, but we will be recording it and putting it on our podcast. And know that when you listen to that podcast, that the few pennies, if you listen to the little ad, it puts a few pennies in our pocket. Really, it's honestly a few pennies. Okay, so if you did that, that's great. It helps us keep going. Okay, and so if you subscribe, if you share, and all of that kind of stuff, then you'll probably see Rainbow Soul begin to change and shift the way we look. And this is our second shift, I think, but it will be our third face, our third way of doing things. So, we got through it last time, and we'll get through it this time, and we will survive, and we will continue to bring you queer spiritual stuff, and probably a lot of astrology.
Yep.
And I just want to congratulate the two of you on your consistency, your persistence. The work that you have done to do a year and a half of programming is not small. You have never missed a week. You guys have had a lot of different topics and guests, and I just want to really applaud you for doing something that you have seen it through in a really, really big way. So I look forward to whatever the evolution is and whatever part I can play. And huge gratitude to the folks that have just been so awesome. All our friends, basically. Everybody we know.
Yeah, like, I mean,
awesome.
I totally love that you come out and watch us, like Eve. If it wasn't for Rainbow Soul, I'm not even sure I would have really got to know you as well.
Right.
Quellen, and it's great seeing you out here, Quellen, and Dana, and everybody that comes out to the show all the time. I really love you guys, and I appreciate you, but you must understand, from a business perspective, it just doesn't work financially.
Yeah.
I can't pay the bills, and so StreamYard costs, and that's why we've reduced how many places we're streaming to. I might still go live sometimes, and I'll try to announce it like a week ahead of time, but I'll do it through Zoom, because I already pay for Zoom for the rest of our business. So so I might still go live, but I'll probably do that. So, and I want to say thank you, Lacrosse, for doing this with me, going down this rabbit hole of have your own show. And let's do a spiritual queer show, and let's do it this way, and let's do it that way, and all of the adventures, I've appreciated you.
Aw,
I feel like you've walked with me like a friend, and we've just respected each other, and that feels good to have a good
100%.
relation with someone, and we just kind of respected each other's space and what we had to do in any given time, and I think that shows for a good relationship, like as friends.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I can't thank you enough. You opened my eyes to a lot of things where I didn't see, and I want you to understand. And this isn't the end. I mean, I want everybody to understand this ain't. We're not dying. We're not cutting it.
Right.
We're just redirecting
Yeah,
and
we're just changing.
recycling, and we're, it's and the good thing is it gives. I think going off the lives, it's going to give us a lot more opportunities to touch on a lot of other subjects where we're not limited, because we can't, not everybody can come out on a Sunday night, and even like we're talking business, you talk business. I mean, I have two other jobs and then have to do this. So and as you see, I've been dwindling every other week. I was every week and every other week. And we have to worry about what we got bills to pay. It is what it is. We got
Yeah,
bills to pay.
yeah,
And, but yet we still want to be able to do what we're doing. So I think the way we're going to do it now, I think it's going to be positive,
yeah. I
and
just think it's going to be a little bit different, and
yeah,
we won't have as many guests,
yeah,
because that's a lot of management. But we still will have some guests. I am looking for queer astrologers. So if you are an astrologer and you're LGBTQIA, please reach out to me. I would love to have you on the show.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and thank you, Eve.
yeah.
All
Yeah.
things have seasons.
That's right.
Sweet.
That's right.
And that's true. That's absolutely true. And so now this fall and winter, we're gonna be focusing on changing our podcast, and I think we'll figure it out one step at a
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, 100%. So we had the Three Musketeers here.
Right?
So
Yeah, well, friends, I hope you have an amazing evening. Please be good to yourself. Please
yes,
take care of yourself. Please do self care. Please give yourself an extra big hug from me personally. And because every single person out there is uniquely needed in our world, we need you. And I'm glad you're here. And if you're queer, we double need you.
yep.
So, just gonna say so that just so you know that you're wanted and loved and celebrated, and we appreciate you.
Yep.
So thanks for tuning in to Rainbow Soul. Thanks for being here. We love you all. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you for watching Rainbow Soul. We are so grateful for your presence and listening in this past hour. Be sure you're subscribed and get notifications so you can join us and catch us every Sunday night here live. We appreciate you sharing, commenting, reacting, and inviting others to the show. This is a show for you, so tell us, who would you like to see on the next show? What topics inspire you? You can always find replays, more about the host, blog posts, merchandise, information about games and contests, and social media links at rainbowsoul.show. We love to show our gratitude with fun and games and contests with prizes that celebrate who we are as a community. Rainbow Soul holds the intention to explore consciousness and spirituality in cultures with a deep reverence for cultural roots, equality, and inclusion. We are always striving to recognize the spiritual medicine available to all of us in the modern world. We hope that you walk away knowing that you are perfectly valid in whatever identity you embrace for yourself, and that you are sacred just as you are. Thank you so much for tuning in to Rainbow Soul. In the land of Africa, there lives a hippo who learns to overcome being different through an ecstatic dance experience. Sometimes life is sweet, and sometimes life stings. It's up to you to decide. What are you willing to be? Asks the honeybee. The firefly reminds us that only you can shine your light. The butterfly speaks of the wonder of transformation, while the moon helps the hippo feel a confident glow. Find out what happens in a hippo dance trance. This beautifully illustrated book presents expressive artwork through gender-neutral characters that deliver messages about being yourself, perspective, and personal transformation. Order today at brighthawkproductions.com.